Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Haidt.
And I'm Chelsea Jeff.
Breaking news, Spookies! Guess what's just around the corner? Halloween. Guess what we're doing? We wanted to give you a special little gifty.
You might already know about this if you're a patron, if you're a member of our Patreon. You might have already heard a little bit about it.
But we've been working hard with Ryan Brom, the creator of our beautiful, beautiful rebrand that we did earlier this year. And we created another little cutie thingy, a little cutie picture of us three, a little new merchandise moment, if you will. And it's launching right now. Oh my God. It's available right now. If you're listening to this, unless you're a patron, it's available right now on Tuesday the 10th. We are launching our second merch drop with some exciting new items with a very special design that we are calling the casket design. Wow,
Whoa.
what does it mean? No one knows until you go to our website. Our website will have a link to the merchandise. We'll also have a link to the shop in our show notes, so you can check out something very cute to wear all spooky season long and all year long. It'll be exciting. You can wear stuff. You can utilize
items.
Use items to help you go to the grocery store. Yeah, wow, it's very exciting.
An item for your items.
An item for your items. You can fill your item with other Spooky Tuesday items. It's pretty exciting. Imagine
revolutionary
that.
idea.
A meta merch moment. Whoa, alliteration. So check it out. It's a limited time only, so make sure you get on there and make your purchases while you can, so they'll get to you in time for October spooky season, the whole shebang. We don't want you to miss out on a moment.
And this is my birthday episode, so welcome to the Chelsea Show. I got to pick today's episode, today's movie, and I was thinking about it for a while in advance, and I just couldn't stop thinking, there was a new release that came out earlier this year that Monica and I saw in theaters. And I was riveted, I was dialed in. And I think I thought even when we watched it, I might make this my birthday episode this year. So I'm excited that we're here. But it is 2024's I Saw the TV Glow. It was a new A24 release. It was getting a lot of buzz as like a new queer horror movie before it dropped. So I was like, we gotta go see it. We gotta go see it. And yeah, I got sucked in pretty much right away. But Sydney, I know you haven't seen it yet.
I didn't. I've seen it twice now.
You've seen it twice now.
Both today.
Sure. And I told you, you might want to see it twice because it might be a little thinky. And I know I appreciated my second watch for sure, so that I took so many freaking notes and I transcribed so much of this movie. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. But I'll introduce it to anybody who hasn't seen it yet and loves to listen to podcasts anyway. The IMDb logline for this film reads, two teenagers bond over their love of a supernatural TV show, but it is mysteriously canceled, which I would say kind of skims the surface, but I don't know what more I would want it to say without getting into the weeds. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a good log line. I don't know. I don't know that I had any idea what this was going to be about when I went into it. So maybe it's fine that that's not descriptive at all.
I had no idea what this movie was about going into it. And then I was watching it, and the first thing that maybe clued me in was the giant trans-colored parachute thing right at the beginning. And then I was like, oh, maybe that's what this
Yeah, for a second it looks like it's just bisexual, but then when it pops to
I
little
thought it was
baby Owen,
bisexual as well.
right, Owen is in front of the white stripe, and you're like, okay, I see another color here in this flag. So I think when we saw it in theaters, we were sitting next to a bunch of other queer people who seemed familiar with the director. They had a lot to say. But one of the things
They
they
would
said
not
before the
shut
movie
the
started,
fuck up.
I was being so political about it. One of the things they said
I
before
love
the movie
them.
started was like, this movie better be trans or whatever. So they definitely did a little hat tip to look for themes, to be aware of themes for sure.
I
But
think
they
I knew
seemed
going into
satisfied by
it
that.
that it was an allegory for a trans experience. So I
Mm.
was sort of looking for
Maybe
that.
we
I
talked
just
about that in the car.
heard that around. But yeah, I don't know. I had a great time watching it the second time. By that I mean I was gutted to my core, because that's the point of this movie, to make you feel agonizing feelings that you maybe wouldn't have felt otherwise. But I also watched Jane's how do I say Jane's last name? Jane
Schoenbrun would be
Schoenbrun.
my guess.
Schoenbrun. Schoenbrun. I was thinking that it ended with with burn, so I've been saying it wrong in my head for weeks. So my
Oh,
bad, Jane. I'm
no.
so sorry. I know. I don't want to do another M Night. I don't say his last name because in my mind I have it backwards and no one knows what's the truth. So I don't want to do that to Jane, because
You've
I
never
think that,
Campbelled it for yourself.
oh yeah, 100%. I think that Jane is a really, really interesting new director. They're so interesting. I watched We're All Going to the World's Fair, or what's the yeah, We're All Going to the World's Fair again today. So
Just to
I
dial into the director's
forgoed
themes.
exactly, because I had watched the movie when it came out in 2021, because I was really interested. I heard it was
I feel like
spooky.
I
I
remember you
heard,
texting us about it when you watched it.
yeah, I like did this whole thing where I like blacked out every curtain in my bedroom and watched it on my TV super close to my face, and proceeded to not totally understand what the fuck was
Sure.
going on. But what a difference 3 years makes, because I really like locked in on this one, and maybe like I saw the TV glow before watching it again really helped, so I could understand like Jane's directorial voice. But it's really, really interesting. This one is definitely, I saw the TV glow, is definitely one that I think that more people would like. But We Are All Going to the World's Fair is like the slowest slow burn of all time. Sydney, I think you'd hate it, unfortunately, just because
I have
it's
no
all about
interest in seeing it, actually. I think somebody has suggested it, and I was just like, no.
No, thank you.
No, thank
it's
you.
about RPG games online, so like
Oh.
playing games. Yeah. And so
Okay,
that's the
interesting.
other thing. 100% didn't know anything about that. Like how there's these like
Not your sphere.
games on YouTube or whatever where you like it's your imagination. It's not on YouTube. I don't know where the videos are, but people are all just like playing along with this like concept and like role playing this like spooky concept or whatever. And so
I used
I
to do
didn't
those in
know
middle
about that.
school, but it was a horse
RPG
game.
games, it's such a wide genre actually of what that can
Yeah.
be. Sometimes you're writing, sometimes you're doing tabletop RPG, which is like Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes it's like World of Warcraft.
I did also
This
that
one
as
is
well.
about
You played World of
like
Warcraft? Wow.
Oh, I had a level 70 girly
I was in the guild and I sold my account
my
for
God.
$450. That's what my brother did.
I sold my
had
account for
a-
$800 because I had a rare like
Oh
tiger
my
pet.
God.
I had a
Nope,
really
so
huge
Neopets
crush
actually sounds
on
like.
Exactly.
my friends. I had a huge crush on my friend Spencer, and he was obsessed with it. And I like went over to his house, and I was like, "Oh my God,
Oh my
I'm
God, tell
so
me about
interested in
it.
World
Tell
of
me about it,
Warcraft."
King.
And I
thought
made
you were
an
gonna
elf, and I
say-
made her so hot. I made her
Yeah,
so
obviously.
Me
hot.
too,
I was like,
obviously.
Yeah, you
"Oh,
have
do you
to. By
recognize
the law.
anything in common with me and this elf?"
Does
There's
she look
nothing
hot to
actually in common.
you? Do you
Oh my God,
see
she
any
looks just like
similarities?
I made her. Yeah, no, it didn't work. But Anyway, but yeah, I think that it was just really interesting to like watch these movies in tandem because I also watched a lot of interviews with Jane today. And I just think that they have a really cool personality, by the way. They're funny and I really like hearing them talk about their art. But um they were saying that they're creating a trilogy of like trans experience. And so we are all going to the World's Fair is obviously the first one came out
Oh,
first.
you're saying trans
It's
experience,
about
you're
like
saying role-playing game. I'm making connections. Okay.
it's not like super overt. It's like it's very light. It's like it's basically
But you're like
Jane
making
was
your
saying
idealized self or whatever when you make your character. That's what I'm projecting
no,
onto the film. I
that
haven't
does
watched it.
that does not happen at all. That doesn't happen at all. So
No.
not that. Let me finish. Let me finish.
I
So
think you're wrong and I'm probably right because I know about
This
everything
is her
in the world.
birthday
just because
episode.
it's your
Actually,
birthday
It's my
doesn't
birthday
mean
episode. Chelsea
you get to.
Perfect. I don't know if you remember,
it's
but
Chelsea Palooza actually now. So
Am I allowed to finish my smart thing I was going to say now?
I give you my
But
consent.
thank you so much. But basically, like, they're like the different stages of trans experience. So, like, we are all going to the World's Fair is like just like the not dysphoria because this one's about the dysphoria. It's just like feeling uncomfortable, like very, very early stages of the process. And then this, I saw the TV glow is like that magnetized and then leading to like the egg breaking moment where you like can't deny it anymore. And then apparently this third movie will be like about like really expressing yourself and transitioning and like
Trans
hopefully the
identity
joy,
and
hopefully trans joy at the end there because there not a lot
there
of
was
that.
none of
And I
that
saw
in
the
this movie.
TV glow. There was none of that in this movie. A little bit.
Monica texted me about the end earlier, and I'll have thoughts to say on that later because I think, like, despite how bleak it is, 1 second more of one thing at the end could have made it feel very hopeful still, but perhaps a little on the nose, but we'll get there in time. We'll get there in time.
Yeah. I just loved the whole concept for this movie though too because I feel like we're doing it at the perfect time for me. I know this is about you, but just want to say
actually I don't even know why you would bring yourself up. How dare you?
But yeah, I just loved this movie for me right now because I finished Buffy 1 week ago today, maybe. I don't know if that's true. But literally like in the last week I finished all of Buffy and Buffy is everything to this movie and that just felt so cool to like fully understand it this time around because I'd only seen a couple of seasons of Buffy when we watched it together when it came out in theaters and I hadn't watched it in like a year. So I didn't get like the overtness of it, like how it proliferates everything.
Yes, but explicitly when Amber Benson showed up, Tara, I was like, oh my God, that's Tara from Buffy. And you're like, oh, I don't recognize her. And now I'm thinking, I don't even know that you had met Tara yet in the series.
I don't know if I had, yeah. It was early days. I think I was on because she comes into it on a season like
in college
4 or 5. Yeah, the college season, and I was like in the middle of that. So interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In this movie, the TV show mentioned in the logline is called The Pink Opaque, which is named after an album title by, I don't know how it's pronounced, the Cocktail Twins. That would be my guess. Didn't know that. Twins. Haven't listened to that album. Not familiar with it. However, I love the name The Pink Opaque. I think it is.
It's a great name.
It has such a good sound
Seriously.
to it. And that is my costume today. I am the Pink Opaque. I did put contacts in so I could do pink eyeliner and pink eyebrows, and then I took them out so I could put on my pink glasses. And now you can't even see any of my pink makeup, but it's fine. It's there in spirit. I just told you all about it. But
believe her. Okay,
it really
it's her birthday.
is. Thank you. Here, I'll get really. Here, should I show you for a second?
Ooh! Oh my God! Oh my
Oh, the
God, the brows.
eyebrow.
Wow, the brow. The brow is it.
I told you brows. But yeah, the show is called The Pink Opaque. It's a supernatural TV show, and it really is in the same vein as Buffy and like Are You Afraid of the Dark? And So Weird was not mentioned in IMDb trivia, but I was like, for sure, So Weird is like another one that comes to mind for me. Secret World of Alex Mack was another one that was mentioned.
I love that
I
one.
know there are several references to Adventures of Pete and P. I don't know if that's a supernatural show or not, but
I felt vibes of X-Files just because I felt about X-Files the way that they felt about the Pink Opaque. And so that's
sure.
how I connected to it. And Monster of the Week is also a thing there.
Mhm.
But that's a little
But like
too straight for what
Goosebumps.
we're talking about.
Yeah. Buffy really, I do feel like, is the main comp because they very much have that format of the Monster of the Week and the overarching big bad of the season or the show.
So
And
they
apparently
have
the
font is
yeah.
literally Buffy's font.
I screamed. What
I did too.
I didn't look it up. I didn't look. I like saw it and I was like, ah! I've only been looking at that every day the last this last month and a half. Jesus Christ! Oh my God, so exciting.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting movie. It has a lot of references in general to that era. I think Jane Schoenbrun, I'm sure, is just like pulling from their childhood a lot, and I think there's certainly
they said that.
overlap with Justice Smith and Brigette Lundy-Paine.
Yeah, Jane was saying that Buffy was this to them when they were a kid, like this, the way they felt
I'm
about
sure.
the Pink Opaque. That's how they felt about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And yeah, there's a lot to fucking love. And I
think
also
it's
just
just so
love
interesting
the
the
show
way.
itself.
Yeah, it seems cool. It seems weird.
I want to watch it.
I like some of the episode titles. I wrote some of them down when the like graphic montage comes later with the drawings on screen. Loved that. Loved the art of that. But like Homecoming to Get You and Welcome to the Scar Wash. Physical Fitness Test of Death. Like it seems like a fun little show.
Totally.
But the opening of the movie, like starting with the sidewalk chalk and the like voiceover from Owen, and then you see little baby Owen, or actually it might be adult Owen in the beginning, but just like staring at the TV screen with like the color. Oh, it's so perfect. I think that's little Owen. I think he's watching the
It's
commercial
little Owen.
in the beginning. And then it goes to the bisexual trans flag parachute. And
that is just so stunning. Like cinematography is so cool in this. I just feel like it's
it's
very
beautiful.
like
It's such a
atmospheric.
beautiful movie.
They
The
create
colors
a
are
beautiful
beautiful, too.
atmosphere all around. Like, yeah, totally. The color is crazy great. The shots are really cool. And then like that combined with the score from Alex G and then just like the soundtrack in general.
Jane
Big
Schoenbrun
fire.
commissioned like 16 original songs for the soundtrack, which is especially when you get
No
to
way!
Double Lunch, the bar when Phoebe Bridgers pops up, which is relevant to when you guys said when we announced this episode last week that Jane Schoenbrun also directed the Lucy Dawson's Night Shift music video.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
we're getting connections, but the lyrics of those songs are very on the nose.
Also, like, there's just queer artists throughout this. Tara is fucking Snail Mail. That's Snail Mail. Lindsay Jordan, who plays Tara in the Pink Opaque, that is the lesbian artist Snail Mail. Because I was watching, this is gonna sound mean. Love you, Snail Mail. Also, there was huge beef between Snail Mail and Phoebe Bridgers. So interesting. They're in the same film.
Oh, I remember
that. I was about to be like, wasn't it Soccer Mommy? But you're right, it was Phoebe Bridgers.
No, yeah, it was Snail Mail and Phoebe Bridgers. But I was watching an interview and it had what's their name? Brigette Lundy-Paine. Brigette Lundy-Paine, and Lindsay Jordan and Jane. I'm gonna say their last name. Schoenbrun. Okay, maybe that's it. All sitting down at what is Con, maybe? I don't know, one of those film festivals.
Oh,
No,
the film festival.
Con. Yeah, I'm not sure where
I
it
thought you
might have
like
been.
at a con or something. Yeah, this very much
At a
made the film festival
con.
circuit. Maybe Sundance. I know
It
it
was
played at
Sundance. It was
Sundance.
Sundance. I couldn't remember Sundance. Anyway, and the Lindsay Jordan was talking and doing an interview, and I was like, God, they are talking like very strangely about acting in a way that like is so drastically different from Brigette Lundy-Paine. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, is this their first time? And then I was like, oh, maybe because they're a full-time musician. So that's what clued me in on that. But so many fucking cameo actors in this. I mean, is it too early to talk about Fred Durst?
There's one scene like later in the movie where he just looks so scary.
He looks very
He's
scary
so
the whole
terrifying.
movie.
They painted him fully white. That's why he looks like that. He was in white face paint because I feel like he's supposed to.
It was
be
giving
like,
Terrifier.
It's giving Terrifier. It's giving Mr.
No wonder
Melancholy.
we're thinking about it. It is giving Mr. Melancholy a little
Mr.
bit.
Melancholy.
Giving Mr. Melancholy.
And I would argue that is very possibly a Captain Hook, Mr. Darling kind of thing there. You know what I mean? Like it's not the same actor doing both roles. But I'm sure they're evoking that in that way.
Yeah, because I mean, it's hard to watch the beginning of this movie just because it's so sad to see like how lost both Maddie and Owen are in their lives. Like both of them have like pretty shitty home lives going on right now. Like I don't know if Owen's dad Frank is abusive, but the way that they all act around him, they're fucking terrified of him. And that's very unsettling. And then there's definitely some abusive things going on in Maddie's home life. She makes that reference of like
She
him
explicitly says
getting
he'll
her
break my
nose.
nose again.
He'll break my nose again. I think that was her stepdad. She was referencing you could hear people fighting at some point on one of the slumber parties. So they have a lot in common, even before we get to the queer of it all.
Okay, but
yeah,
also,
I think go ahead.
Oh, of the queer of it all, my favorite shot of this entire movie is when they are like meeting each other for the first time and they're sitting at the school, and it's Maddie on one side in like a dark color, and then Owen sitting next to a beautiful pink Fruitopia vending machine, and I was like,
yay,
look at that
Wow.
little gay boy.
Okay, letting us know early on.
I was like, well, that's
Fruitopia?
funny.
That's offensive.
But
I
also,
didn't
it was
think
the
about that.
most beautiful Fruitopia vending machine I've ever seen in my entire life.
I was just sitting there during that scene, not thinking about that hilarious gay joke, but being like, wow, it's so beautiful. Do you think that's a reproduction of an actual thing? Is Fruitopia an actual thing? Like I was getting really
Monica,
deep. I was
do
like,
you not
how
remember
serious?
Fruitopia?
No.
Oh.
That
Was
is
this
a childhood.
an era reference?
Oh my God, Fruitopia was like, they had vending machines in the high schools up until like 9th grade.
For me.
Ooh, okay.
We didn't
Yeah, no, I
have that at ours.
never seen that. It's cool
You'll
though.
never.
It was beautiful. What is it? A snack? A drink?
It's a soda.
No, I never
They
Sounds
were
like Fanta.
delicious. They were better than Fanta.
Better
What
than
about
Fanta.
Cactus Cooler?
Don't worry, we're gonna put.
Cactus Cooler. That's regional for us.
I will
That's
put
true.
some Fruitopia links in our show notes for people
Thank
who
God.
do not know
Let
what
the people
Fruitopia
know.
is.
Okay, I'm going back to the dad now. What I don't know that he is like explicitly abusive necessarily. I think he just has very rigid views about girls versus boys and gender roles and that kind of thing, and I think he's just strict with rules and otherwise hands off, because what's so interesting about him is like we don't see him until Owen is in 9th grade. Like we have the moment where the mom is talking to him at one point, but he's entirely off screen and you don't hear his responses. You only hear the mom talking. And then the first thing we see from him is like just a sliver of his face in profile in the front seat while he's driving, and all he says is like, "Isn't that a girl's show?" So like that's like all you get
That's like
from
his
him.
only line, yeah.
Yeah, that's like all you get from him basically until you get a little more of him later, but again, he's not really speaking. You know what I mean? He kind of that's like
Yeah.
his only. It's so interesting. It's so interesting the way that they're showing you the sense of the home life. And also little Owen is so cute.
Oh, Owen is
He's
so
so
Baby
cute. Ian
Owen.
Foreman, that's the actor, Ian Foreman. He's freaking adorable.
Tiny
Also,
little baby Owen.
just in case you're a little dumbass like me and you didn't the name Fred Durst. Didn't we just talk about Fred Durst when we did
Yes,
the
and
Y2K
I
trailer
think that's
review?
gonna be relevant for I
Yeah.
saw the TV Goer next episode, but I couldn't remember for sure.
Well, okay, I didn't know that Fred Durst is from Limp Bizkit. I just knew the name and I
God.
knew
From
about
Limp
Limp
Bizkit.
Bizkit, and I didn't know either of those things. Okay, here's the thing about this movie. Like, the rest of Limp Bizkit is in it. Like, what? Jane just had so much fun with this too in the middle of breaking all of our hearts. But there's that one scene, because I don't know what it really is supposed to mean beside it being a cameo of the rest of Limp Bizkit. But there's one point where Owen like walks outside and there's two guys that also have the white pasty face. That to me, I was like, are those the Luna men, the Luna henchmen? What are they
Marco
called?
Polo.
Marco and Polo.
Marco
My
and Polo.
earrings. I'm
I was
wearing
like,
my
are
Marco
these
Polo earrings.
hell yeah? I was like, are they supposed to be a rough like stand-ins for Marco Polo? Like Frank is a stand-in for Mr. Melancholy for me, at least. That was my read. And I think maybe because they had the same white painted face. But yeah,
Are you sure those
that
are
was
Limp Bizkit
that was
guys?
yeah, yes.
I thought
Yes,
IMDb trivia said those were Cimarrona and Danny Tamborelli from The Adventures of Pete and Pete. But I could be confusing that with a different moment, I guess, potentially.
I researched it earlier today and it said it was the other people, the guys from Limp Bizkit. I'll double check right
Were
now.
the actors in Pete and Pete in Limp Bizkit? Could we be talking about the same people?
Yeah, because it says Michael C. Marona. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but and Danny Tamborelli, who you might remember from All That. Danny Tamborelli was also in All That.
Okay,
on
I think I was
Nickelodeon.
wrong. I think I was wrong, but I really thought it explicitly said
It
that
just
in the thing
felt
I was
it
reading.
felt
It
right
felt
in your
right.
heart. But they're
I
listed
couldn't
as
believe
neighbor
that
one
they
and
would
neighbor
do
two.
that.
So I think that's the moment when they're just standing there because you're like, why are those?
No,
why,
well, we're
why are
talking
they
about
there?
the same people.
Yeah.
I think they were supposed to be. I think they were supposed to be the Marco and Polo henchmen stand-ins.
Interesting.
I think.
Interesting.
I think. I really think. Because I really feel like
thinks?
Frank is just this like ominous character who like of oppression in Owen's life, who like just controls him, keeps him away, won't let him watch the Pink Opaque.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Won't let him watch the Pink Opaque, which is the view into his true life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a TV show for girls, and Owen is a boy, and Owen is only going to do boy things in this household.
But also, again, that logic is so flawed because Buffy the Vampire Slayer, according to that, is considered a girl show, right? I know so many men who love to mansplain Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a known girl show. Like, okay,
actually that show's for girls, so I don't know why you're chiming in.
So actually, I would know best.
Yeah, that's a show for girls, okay?
So
and God forbid,
just stop
boys and
people
girls
from liking things.
like the same thing.
Can we stop yucking people's yum? My God, just let people live. But we can't, apparently. We're not ready in the year of our Lord 2024. I just really love that Maddie, though, is like, oh, you like the show? Do you want to come to my house and sleep over? do you as a child want to come to my house and sleep over and watch it? She's a damn
Have
bitch.
you ever been autistic and wanted to share your hyperfixation with somebody? You'll do
beautiful.
anything. You'll record every single episode and leave tapes in their locker just to have somebody to talk about it with.
I think that's so sweet. And I loved
so
I didn't realize it at first. And then I realized it on the second was like, he's now teenage, like it's the 2 years later, and he's like walking to go pick up the tapes in the dark room, and we see all this like writing on the screen, and it's her notes and her like annotating the episodes to him.
So cute.
It's so cute.
Like, I guess I couldn't read them all at first, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're her little notes. And also there's a moment where he passes by her in the hallway, and right after he sees her and they like make eye contact for a moment, the hallway gets like white and bright and like pink and like happy colors instead of like sad, dark, dour colors. And so it's just like this shining little moment, this brightness in his life. I just love the way they connect about it instantly at election night at Void High School. Which
VHS.
is what a slay name. VHS, but also Void, just iconic.
So fucked up.
But they start hammering the themes of this movie home early on, because even in that first scene at the school, she's saying election night is cool, right? And you're like, I don't know, girl, I guess. But her explanation for why is it's quote, it's like the school gets transformed into something else, it's special. Like this idea of transformation being special, getting to be something other than what you think you have to be or what you think you are, like that gets introduced early on as like a moment of beauty and of discovery. So I think that's just a really cute little.
And there's a couple other moments too, which like blow up into huge themes later on in the very beginning. Like, I think Owen says sorry about something at some point when he's still a little boy, and Maddie like is like never apologize, and we know how that goes later on in the movie. And then also there's like, I think one of their first conversations, Maddie is describing one of the characters and one of the villains, and I can't remember what they're called, but
Mr.
basically
Melancholy?
like. Not Mr. Melancholy. It's one of the monsters of the week.
Mr. Sprinkly?
No, it's
the ice cream one.
The tagline that like the thing is like, if you don't think about it, then they don't exist. And Owen grabs onto that and is like, "Oh, if you don't think about it, then it doesn't exist." And that sort of
that's one of
like
the opening lines in the voiceover is they can't hurt you if you don't think about them.
Yes, that was in the episode they were one of the episodes they were watching, and that becomes sort of Owen's mantra in his life. Unfortunately, later on,
just don't think about it, and they can't get to you. Yeah,
man. Yeah. I mean, I think this movie is so important for people to watch because, like, apparently the transness of this movie went over a lot of people's heads, and to them, I say, we're here to help. Listen to the episode. How about that? I'll say something nice instead of something mean. But I think that it does a really good job of like, maybe if you didn't understand like transness at all and you didn't get why or what this is or anything, and don't understand why trans people exist, like this movie I think does an incredible job of like making anyone who watches it feel like the dysphoria and discomfort that a trans person might experience. And so I think it's like
the occasional
super
moments of like wheezing before the end even.
Yeah, no, I just like you know, I'm not a trans person, but I felt like this discomfort. I felt this anxiety. It's just like it permeates through your whole body watching this because it's such an atmospheric film. Like it hits you on all these different levels. It really like dug into my subconscious in a way that I wasn't expecting to. But I think it could be like an educational tool for people who are open-minded and just like want to understand more, like just like to feel the feelings of the experience.
Will say, I don't know. Like, I know this is like labeled as a horror movie, and it isn't horror, and it is horror because it is like, it's not scary, but it is horrifying. And quite frankly, I feel like this movie is more tragedy than anything. Like if you like, like Shakespeare had great like tragedy plays and stuff like that. Like that's what this kind of plays out as more, instead of like a horror film. Like, this movie is tragic.
It's so tragic, and I feel like, to me, like, what kept reverberating in my head, it's like, for Owen at least, the horror is the horror of introspection, like the horror of looking within at all, like, and looking at anything, analyzing any feeling, like, instead of just moving past it. That's what it was for him, at least.
I saw this Tumblr post a few weeks ago talking about this movie that really stuck with me. I thought it like must have been from a professional critic when I went searching for it later. But it's just a post that somebody made on Tumblr, a very smart person made on Tumblr, and I'll link it in the references. But what's interesting that they say is so much of the horror genre, this is a quote, so much of the horror genre is informed by the metaphor of queer/transness as monstrousness, especially emphasizing the amount of horror that depends on the audience's repulsion at seeing a human body changing into a new other body. I Saw the TV Glow is about the horror of not transitioning, the horror of static, the horror of looking into yourself and being terrified of what you see, the horror of seeing who you are and choosing to do nothing about it, the horror of looking away, and by God, it is terrifying. And like, the idea that body horror and transformation is the scary thing in so many horror movies, and that in this movie the thing that's horrifying is not doing that, because the consequences of it are so unbearable sometimes. I just think that's such an interesting perspective. And like, this movie is very much about transness and being trans, but just also as a queer person, it really resonates with the concept of like not feeling like you can be yourself, trying to be something that's not who you are because that's what you're told you have to be, or because you've never been told, or you've never realized, or it's never occurred to you that there's any other way you can be than explicitly the way that these are the rules. You know what I mean? Like, you've never found a way, or you've never been introduced to the idea that like you can explore who you are and be that. You don't have to be what you're told that you are. I just think the metaphor of suffocation is so apt.
Seriously.
Yes.
And the small town that they live in, I feel like, is a huge part of that too. Like, there's no like queer elder, trans elder, anyone besides Maddie for Owen to look up to. And Maddie is living a different experience. Maddie is a lesbian woman who got outed by her bestie. You know what I mean? She's
Maddie
having
is
her
the only
own
gay
experience.
person we know. And she's
Exactly,
explicitly facing homophobia.
Yeah, but she's not trans, so she can't inform that experience for Owen either in the same way. So like, Owen is looking inside and being like, I don't know like what this is that I'm feeling. I don't know what this looks like. Better to just smash it
Trying
down
to
and
think about it
never
at
think about it
all.
ever again. Yeah.
Trying to think about it at all makes me feel carved out on the inside, and like there is something wrong with me, and my parents know it, and everyone knows it. And I just, that some people said that line was like a little too heavy-handed, a little too on the nose, but I think for a lot of people, that's exactly what it feels like. And I don't know, it just like really the line that really resonated to me, it's in the trailers, but I love it so fucking much, when she's like, what about you? Do you like girls? Do you like boys? And he's like, I like TV shows. Like, that, as someone
the amount of stuttering he does
spectrum,
too.
I love that.
Yeah, like,
it's hard to figure out sometimes. Sometimes it's like, I don't fucking know. I know I like TV. That's one thing that I know that I like. Beyond that,
let's keep it to the topics I understand.
There are things that I'm prepared to talk about, and they are TV show.
Yeah, and I just think that the movie itself does a great service to making transness more relatable, just for someone who's like, people who aren't trans too, because like, who hasn't had something inside of them that they don't want to confront,
or
a secret, a thought,
something they're
ashamed
of.
Exactly. And so that feeling just in its barest bones is something that is relatable to the whole human experience. I think if people think about that a little bit more and realize the similarities, we'd be in a better spot. But I guess everyone should just watch I Saw the TV Glow. That could help. Ugh, man.
Yeah. I will say, there's one decision in this movie that's so unbearably silly, but I think in many ways has to be made, both for the realistic constraints of making a movie and also so that you connect teenage Owen's experience with adult Owen, but jumping from little baby 7th grade Owen to Justice Smith playing a 14-year-old just 2 years later is like it was very silly the first time you watch it.
I was like, could we not give him a wig?
It's kind of like a little meta.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I loved baby Owen so much, so I would never want to lose him. He was absolutely precious.
Well, that's the thing is like it would make more sense for baby Owen to play 9th grade Owen as well. Even if he looked a little young still, I'm sure there could be things to make him look older, but you want to really resonate with that character and that experience with older Owen and see them as the same person and really like I make that link and identify that and have that be like so inexplicable, like, or not inexplicable, but so impossible to remove or disconnect. Yeah, maybe that's the word that I meant.
You were right there.
But it was so close, just a few letters away. But it is silly. It is silly to jump to like Brigette Lundy-Paine is playing their character the whole time, and they pull off 9th grade 2 in their late 20s shockingly well. Or mid to late 20s shockingly well, but
the wig covering up the whole face really helped when they're supposed to be super young.
To be like moody 9th grader, like hiding behind their emo bangs.
Yeah, I almost emo bangs that in 9th grade. I'm just saying.
And then like the grown out dye job when
okay, that was just a cool hairstyle. I don't know. I thought it looked
really
it
was a cool hairstyle, but it also felt very much like 11th grade outcast who's like, whatever, I had a best friend, but she's a bitch now and she was sent to ruin my life. She's a secret agent. She told everybody I tried to touch her tit, which is not true.
The way she performed that little bit was so like manic energy, like this is my favorite.
Unfortunately, it is a little Napoleon Dynamite, especially with the
yeah. Also, okay, this is a little bit of a backtrack, but did y'all realize like how long maybe Owen had to walk to get to Maddie's house? Because it was like daylight when he got dropped off. And then
and then it was
like
raining
miles
and dark.
miles away, and then it was pouring, and then it was 10 p.m. He got there at 10:30. It took him 5 hours.
It was that long of a walk, so much as maybe Owen didn't know if he could or should show up any earlier. He got there just in time for Pink Opaque, and he was like wandering the woods in the meantime, is kind of how I envisioned it, is like he got dropped off for sleepover, I don't know, 5 p.m. And then he's like, now what do I do? Because I don't think the town is that big, but also takes like 20-30 minutes for a little kid to walk a mile. So maybe if they're 6 miles away,
he's got little legs. Okay,
he's a little guy. He's just a little guy.
I think that his reaction to Maddie being like, let's run away next weekend was so interesting. And so like just that performance in that moment, again, that's when we get our OG Tara. What's her name? Amber
Benson.
Oh, I knew it, and I should have just trusted myself. Also,
I
gotta
love Tara
say,
and Buffy so much. That was one of my favorite Buffy characters.
She looked so hot in this. She's aged like a fine wine. She looks beautiful. I love her with bangs. It's great. Well, she has bangs in her picture on IMDb. I don't know if she had bangs in the movie. I don't remember.
I don't think so.
but she's beautiful and she should get bangs again if she doesn't have them right now. But I just thought it was so interesting how he just like had to like blow up their entire friendship to protect his like his equilibrium, to protect like the weird little life that he was comfortably uncomfortable in, or uncomfortably comfortable, however you want to say it.
Well, I think it's like part that he is so not prepared to be pushed into a situation where he might have
Of
to explore
course.
his identity and be responsible for himself. And I also think he has a complicating factor on his side, which is that his mom is sick, and like that's fucking
Yeah,
mommy,
she's got
bro. And
cancer.
like he likes to lay with his head in her lap even when he's in the ninth grade. Like, is a little bit that his parents infantilizing him by saying your bedtime is 10 o'clock. 2 years later, you're 14 or 15 now, your bedtime has moved 15 minutes to 10:15.
Right.
Like, yes,
That was
but also
crazy.
he's still like, I'm baby and this is my mommy. And like he was so not at all prepared to leave mommy behind in any way.
No, and that I
Which,
think is
like,
totally
I
fair.
get.
Which also
I think
is like,
also,
I think he was facing the very real cancer related reality of mommy leaving him behind. You know what I mean? And so it was just like one of those things where it's like, I know this is going to happen, but I can't be the one to do it, even if it's coming. And the idea of it coming is so unbearable that like, I, I have to be in trouble to stay. I can't just, because I think it was like he's conflicted. You know what I mean? Like it is, he wants to be Pink Opaque. There's so much of himself that he gets being with Maddie that we don't even see until later in the movie. Because they're not giving that to us early on. But they are talking. It's so interesting the way they talk about time not moving right is so like, and things not feeling real is so like repression and like dissociation, and like I'm like taking a step back from my life and participating in my life, and that's why sometimes time feels really fast and sometimes time feels really slow. But I think it does appeal. Losing Maddie, losing the Pink Opaque is such a also terrifying idea that he's like, I need this taken out of my hands. It's not just that I'm not going to run away
exactly.
with Maddie, it's that I need somebody to take away the option of even running away with Maddie.
Because
He
he doesn't
doesn't
want to
want it to be
say
his decision.
he doesn't want to say no to Maddie because he does want that. He does want that, but he doesn't know how to want it. He doesn't know how to be okay with wanting it, and he doesn't feel like he can have it, at least not yet in his life. So I think that that is really interesting. I mean, I wouldn't want to leave my mommy either. She was very cool. Danielle Deadweiler, very cool name. But I don't know. It's so sad to just. Oh, sorry. What one other point I wanted to make back to what you were saying about the time not making sense thing. I also think that leads to why like it seems kind of crazy that Maddie's like, oh, let's run away together, and like they hadn't been. It didn't seem like they'd been hanging out like again
It seemed
for
like this was
that
like their
long.
third time watching TV. Yeah.
Exactly. But again, time is all wiggly woggly and wonky in this world. What did they call it? The nightmare realm? The twilight
The
realm?
Midnight Realm.
The midnight realm. Yeah. In the midnight realm, things are all jacked up. So makes sense that that timeline wouldn't really make sense. Or Maddie's just overzealous and good for her.
I think the impression that I get is sort of that they've been not necessarily watching the Pink Opaque together in person for a whole year, but they have that whole time of not being in person where Maddie is giving him the tapes. So like that is presumably months and months and months of also a relationship being forged, even if they're not forging it in her basement by the light of the aquarium.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pre-internet friends.
Oh my gosh. So one of my favorite things that I heard in the interviews I read with Jane was their like absolute like joy over being able to like blow up the TV for Maddie's like escape from reality or whatever that was. I think what it ended up being is that she just like lit her TV on fire because apparently it's like supposed to be some sort of like allegory to how like nostalgia is poison and like living in the past and living in living in the TV world isn't as like I think like the argument is like
the
living
screen
in the
specifically
TV
is being
world,
destroyed, that membrane between.
that and also like I'm not like she's not gonna live through Pink Opaque anymore. She's gonna like go out and get like the real deal or the real life because it's not like it makes it seem like she like void swaps into the fucking television and like goes into the show. That's what it seemed like to me at least because I didn't know what else it could possibly mean, but we find out later in her long monologue that she had a few more steps before she got to be Tara in the show. But apparently Jane Jane had this whole thing where they're like there's nothing better than blowing up a TV on somebody else's lawn with someone else's money. Like that was the quote. And they're just they're like, the interviewer was like, it was like gooey and like all this stuff was coming out. And Jane was like,
It's
that's
drippy.
just what happened.
It was
That's what
perfect.
happened. So that's authentic goop that we're getting there. Really beautiful stuff. But it's so sad because you're happy for Maddie that Maddie's like out there getting what she wants or at least getting closer. But then Owen
because
just has no one.
her quote is so crushing when she's like, I will die if I stay here. And I don't know how I'll die. And I don't know what that means necessarily. I only know that it's true. And I think that is like, you know, they talk about the society talks about the elevated risk of suicide and suicidal ideation in queer youth and trans youth specifically. And I think that is so real, where it's just like, if I have to do this forever, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I only know that in whatever capacity it is, whether something literally happens to me or I do something to myself or I just am lost inside of myself, I will be dead.
Yeah.
And that's why you said earlier that she's not necessarily having a trans experience. I don't know that I agree with that. I think hers is just more non-binary adjacent, not necessarily. I mean, we don't know. She's not really talking about it, but I think that is very possibly an element for her as well.
I feel that I just noticed in all the interviews, Brigette Lundy-Paine referred to Maddie with she, her pronouns.
Okay.
So I mean,
well,
that
what
doesn't
about Tara?
mean anything, but yeah. Well, Tara also gives off
Butch.
Tara gives off Butch, but like Josette specifically from Muna vibes to me. So that's non-binary vibes, actually. So never mind.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I don't know.
And
I
also
just
there's
was going
like the
off
distinction
of
of
the
like
interview.
Tara and the Pink Opaque and Maddie before Maddie leaves. And then when Brigette Lundy-Paine's character comes back and is like, that's not my name anymore. I'm Tara.
Yeah.
And was like, what does that mean for this Tara that we're seeing now? It's obviously all very nuanced. And it's one of those things Monica and I were talking about this in regards to something else recently, where there are stories where a character is presenting one way for much of the story and then like has an identity change or reveal later on in the story. And I remember when we did our sleepaway camp episode, it was like, okay, so she's a girl for much of the story, but she is a boy, but does she identify like what? If she were a real person, what would her weigh-in be on the pronouns and identity that she's taking on? But obviously, that's a fictional character, so to some degree, we have to analyze it for ourselves. But And I don't know, it's another one of the nuanced things here.
Yeah. I saw this like really great. I listened to this whole YouTube episode breaking down the whole film by this creator that I'm loading the name for right now. Hold on. Daniel Profeta or Profita, however you say it. He did a really good job, and he is himself is not trans, I don't believe, but had trans close friends weigh in on this, so I trust it more. He does perceive to be a white man, but love you, Daniel. I was moved by what you said. But anyway, he had a really interesting way of talking about Owen. Like, he talked about Owen using they them pronouns, and then towards the end, like as he was describing the movie more, then he started using she her pronouns for Owen as well. So I think like it's interesting because like Owen doesn't ever get to that place yet. This is again like I was talking about this trilogy that is apparently going to be created by Jane Schoenbrun. I said it. This isn't the transition movie.
This is the penultimate, which is second to last.
Yeah, this is the medium.
This is not the finale.
Phase, the reckoning, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not quite there yet.
And obviously Owen very explicitly within this movie is like, I there's nothing here to reflect on. I don't know. And there's nothing all mixed up in my head like a snow globe that I'm going to literally see as a snow globe with my young memories in this movie later on. Really, Maddie is the one coming in being like, maybe you're like Isabel, and then later you are Isabel. So that is something that is present in the movie, but is kind of coming from an external force, but is also kind of coming from an external force who we trust to have insight into this that we don't have. But it is really interesting the way that we set that up, like very early on, after baby Owen watches the Pink Opaque with Maddie and Amanda, we see him, I think the next morning, like walking through the woods, and it fades into a shot of Isabel from the pilot episode walking in the woods at sleepaway camp. Like it very early on is like, has the fade from Owen to Isabel. And then in the bleacher scene, when Owen is saying, like, I don't know, this is how I feel. The quote is, when I think about that stuff, it feels like someone took a shovel and dug out all of my insides, and I know there's nothing in there, but I'm still too nervous to open myself up and check. I know there's something wrong with me. My parents know it too, even if they don't say anything. Do you ever feel like that? And Maddie says, I don't know, maybe you're like Isabel, afraid of what's inside you. So very early on, it's like, maybe you're like Isabel. And it's so interesting because in the show too, in the Pink Opaque, it's the same way where Isabel is looking to Tara for guidance because Tara is the one who's the demon expert or whatever it is that they say.
Yeah, Tara seemed to like already know about the Pink Opaque and is explaining
and you're the Pink Opaque, I'm the Pink Opaque, we're the Pink Opaque.
Like
That's the moment where he's like, oh, and they have the Pink Opaque, and she's like, they are the Pink Opaque. And he's like, oh, sorry. And she's like, don't ever apologize.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's go to the second act of this movie then, because we got to the part where Maddie is left and the long haul of working at the movie theater that Owen is experiencing in the interim, which working in a movie theater seems like it would be really fun, but I would have too much access to popcorn. And
sometimes you walk in on your manager banging Erica, which is a little awkward for everybody.
Right.
That was Connor O'Malley, A.D. Bryant's husband. And
is he the one who was in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
He is the one who's in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Spoilers for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That's all I'll say. I won't say more because it actually is a big spoiler of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But I loved seeing him in this. I love that he's been in all these little A24 ditties as such a fucking random character. But I do think that, like, at least for me, later on, I think his character became really important in, like, proving that the Pink Opaque is real for me because like later on in the movie, like Connor's character is the same fucking age. He looks the exact same as when he was getting a blowy in the closet, okay? Like and you look
And it's
at
20
Owen's
years
character
later.
and
Yeah.
it's 20 years later. Owen looks like 90 years older somehow and his lips are falling
Time's
off.
passing wacky or whatever they say.
Yeah,
So I
he
feel
looks
like
like he's
that's
been like
proof.
rode hard and put up wet, you know?
Put
Yep,
away dry.
exactly.
He's so dry.
I know.
He
No
needs
lotion
chapstick
has been
so
used.
bad. It's gay to use lotion. I'm sure his dad
It
said
makes
that
me
to him
want to
at some
put
point.
my lotion on my skin.
His black mom died
I
and
think
his
it
white
was-
dad said, "Don't moisturize, that's gay."
I think Daniel in the YouTuber whose video I watched was like, well, I know one thing for sure. If you deny your trans identity, it's terrible for your lips. Like you get chronic.
It's
It's
cracked
actually
little
really
lips.
bad
husk
for
of
your
yourself.
skin.
Yeah, jeez. Oh my gosh. But
God forbid someone
I-
ever use chapstick. That's also gay.
Everybody
I just-
knows Aquaphor is in fact very homosexual.
I just
Everybody
loved
knows that.
every second of Maddie like coming back into the picture. Like I love the little preamble with the downed power line and all the like pink opaque like pieces of paper on the ground. It's like the
Which
you
does
know,
really drive home
opening
that
of
did
her
she disappear
return.
into the TV show?
Right?
An
Yeah.
electrical storm. She was struck by lightning and she disappeared. It very like is evoking those images and concepts at the very least.
Yeah, and I love her how she's all stanced up in the grocery store. Strangest stance, very very uncanny.
She was
Do
standing-
you
stance.
remember me?
It's a very butch stance, by the way. Just so
It's
you
a
know.
bush. It's a butch
She
stance.
comes back and she's butch now.
Because
so.
like it kind of is giving John Wayne in a western, you know, like an outlaw a little bit.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Also that
Like-
mullet. Chris, I wanted to do the mullet, but my hair is too grown out. I really wanted to do the mullet look for Maddie, but I was like, we can't do it. She has a
Mhm.
shag. I should just go with what I've got. But I just love like how she's trying to break it to him so easy because she knows she has to be delicate with Owen because you push Owen too far
And he's
and
shutting
He'll tell
down.
on you and get grounded by
he
his
runs
dad.
away. He'll
He
run
shuts
away
down.
because he's scared. He's scared of what is inside of him. Which makes me so sad for him. But
The second
I mean,
act
if you're
of this
gonna
movie is so sad.
if you're gonna come, the second act I like. The third act makes me want to throw myself into oncoming traffic, which is what I texted Chelsea earlier today. Second act, still good vibes.
Second act is sad. Third act is suicidal.
Second act is hopeful.
Okay.
Third
hopeful.
act is crushed under the weight of your own choices.
Maddie is doing a fucking bangering job of trying to convince Owen. Okay, wait, just let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. If you're trying to ease someone into the idea of being a television character or whatever, and that your whole life is different, taking them to like the sexiest cool club where Phoebe Bridgers playing with Phoebe Bridgers' old band that she was in is performing is a pretty great queer way to go about it. I don't remember the name of that band, but apparently that lead singer is like I'll look it up right now. But like Phoebe was in that band with that singer back in the day.
Well, she's great.
And so
She's
that's
so
what
talented.
that cameo was
And that
about.
song is
Yeah,
so
that-
good and on theme. And the lyrics are like, I saw the TV glow. I am in the 8th grade.
Right.
I paint the ceiling black so I don't notice when my eyes are open. I'm digging holes in the lawn. I think I was born boring. I think I was born blue. I think I was born one more. I think I was born missing you.
Floppy Jane. Floppy Jane is the
Oh.
band name, and
Great name.
Haley Doll is the name of the singer. And the song
Great
is
name.
called Claw Machine, and that's all of the information that I have
Yes,
for
which
you.
is such that metaphor also in there of like I'm a claw machine. I'm only made to reach for things. I can't hold on to anything. That's a
Oh.
great song. And also such a good
Ah.
metaphor for this movie, where again he has these moments of like reaching out or exploring or just barely embracing, and then it's like he can't hold on to it because it's too much, it's too scary, it's too big of a change and transformation. It's
Yeah.
gonna blow up too much of the rest of his life, and he's not willing or ready to do that. It's tough.
It's just there comes a point where you're living a life and you're like the alternative to get out of this would change everything, and it's fucking terrifying. But like, what
Yeah.
is the life that you are living right now? You know, I haven't had the same experience, but I've had to make a choice like that, and it was very, very difficult. But it's just like, are you living right now? Are you happy the way that things are? Like, not knowing is so scary, but living in unfulfilled and never knowing is so horrifying, you know? Oh, I really,
Yeah,
really
I
feel
mean,
for Owen's character.
Maddie slash Tara, obviously has this speech at Double Lunch, the name of the bar, which I love. And IMDb trivia was like, that's also the name of the music venue within the Pink Opaque. And I was like, did they go to a music video in the Pink Opaque? I don't
Oh
know
my
what you're
God, that's
oh, you know the
so
scene where they go
Buffy
to the
though.
club. Yeah. Well, they're what's it called in Buffy again?
I'm trying to remember. Hold on. The club in the bronze. The bronze,
The
the bronze, the
Bronx. Oh, we gotta go.
bronze.
We gotta go. Those posts that
That's
are
what it
like
was.
they belong at the
Oh,
club, and those posts about Buffy that are like, but she was at the club. She very much was at the
dude.
club.
I'm so sorry, but like that is just blowing my mind right now. Just the layers of Buffy in this. I was like, this is so random that there's like a whole song scene in this. Like, I love it and it's beautiful and it's poignant and I'm really into it. But it is 100% Buffy to have
Where they're
like
like, and
a
here's Michelle
cool band
Branch.
that
That
you
was
recognize come in and sing a poignant song that hits. The Michelle Branch one is the most iconic one of the entire series for sure.
that was also just like very prominent of the time that this movie is
Yeah.
supposed to take place in, because like Charmed also did that a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
They
I
had
love
this
Ally
big
that.
hangout
McBeal.
that
Ally
Paper
McBeal had
owned,
that
remember?
one lady who was always there
That's
singing
how you
around Ally
used to
McBeal.
that's how you used to be able to break an artist. Like you
Uh-huh.
get placement on these shows and that's what like launch somebody's career, you know? And now there's nothing fucking like that now. I
Yeah.
sound like an old man, but it's true.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we get that speech from Maddie at Double Lunch, just introducing the concept that your life isn't really what you think it is. And like, time is wrong. And like, your memories are jumbled. And there are things that you don't remember or are actively not remembering. That's like one part of it. And then later on, when they're in the inflatable planetarium in the gymnasium, which is another like shout to the beginning, because in the beginning on
Yeah, I
election
love
night,
that.
that's one of the ways that she says the school transforms is like election night and something else. And when they bring in the inflatable planetarium, it's special. It transforms the space.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go back into that later in the movie is so beautiful, but that part is both the horror of this movie and also very much the like thesis statement of like, again, I'm not trans, this is not experience that I've had. I'm sure there are trans people who very much feel like they're exactly the same person that they were before they transitioned, but now they maybe have a new gender
Mm-hmm.
or new pronouns or a new name and perhaps a new fashion style or whatever, but they're the same person. And then I think there are trans people who really feel like I had to bury that person. That person
Mm-hmm.
is dead now because the person that I was being when I thought I had to be a man and that a man was X, Y, and Z, or when I thought I had to be a woman and a woman was X, Y, and Z and only X, Y, and Z, like
Yeah.
that is so different from the person that I am when I allow myself to think about who that is or dream about who it can be. Like the concept of the dead name alone is like, that name is dead, that name died, you have a new name now.
Yeah.
And
You bury
sometimes
that
it
person
is
alive.
like you bury that person alive and you have to claw your way back to the surface. You have to dig yourself out of the grave to be reborn as who you want to be and who you feel that you are.
Mm-hmm. No,
But
I
it's so
mean,
scary, obviously, to have your friend from childhood show up and be like, I bought a coffin. I paid a burnout $50 to bury me alive. He packed the dirt down so tight.
Yeah, and then them giving this beautiful monologue, incredibly acted. The lighting, incredible, stunning. But Maddie turning to the
Look
Maddie
the
Testera
camera.
turning to them and being like looking at the camera, and I shit and I piss my pants.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I was like, well, yes,
Sometimes
of
it's
course,
fucking gross.
you must
Sometimes
have.
it's disgusting, but that's part of being alive.
And I'm happy about it. I just want to be clear, and I want you to know you're gonna shit and you're gonna piss your pants.
I do
Part
like
of
one of the little details of the in-between time for Maddie after she ran away to Phoenix was she was working at a Build-A-Bear at the mall. And I thought it was interesting that she was stuffing the dolls. She was putting something inside of the dolls instead of having her insides carved out by not being who she wants to be or who she is, or by being confused trying to figure out what that is. Instead of having insides taken away, she was putting life into these little dolls.
Putting the little heart in.
I'm putting the heart in.
Yeah.
But yeah, the look into the camera on pissing and shitting is iconic.
Iconic. In the midst of the most beautiful scene I've like literally ever seen in my life. Like stunning,
with like
gorgeous.
the astrology or astronomy like passing over her.
And the like silhouette of her profile, just like absolutely gorgeous.
Hitting and shitting and trying to summon up saliva so I had something to drink.
Oh,
I have an app called Sky.
I have an app called Hitting and Pissing and Shitting Myself.
No. I don't need an app to do that. Thank you. I'm an adult.
I can do it on my own.
I can do it myself. But I have an app called Skyview that kind of does that exact like projector thing. You can just hold it up to the sky and it'll like tell you which like what are those called? Constellations. I wanted to call them celestations, and I'm like, that's not right.
Celestial bodies.
That sounds nice.
I was like, that's so close, but that's not right.
We got there, girl.
I was just using that app this weekend, like looking at the stars, and I was like, oh, I love this.
That's so me coded.
That's so me.
This movie could just like get everybody to relate to it, you know?
Yeah. I also loved the moment before I clawed my way out of my coffin, of like, or I guess this was while she was in the coffin still, but when she says, I felt myself starting to leave myself, and it was like I was watching myself on TV from across the room, and I was moving further and further away from the screen until the screen was so small that I couldn't even see myself anymore as the camera recedes and gets further and further away from her. That was great visual storytelling.
That's stunning. It was so stunning too. And the heartbreaking scene that comes next, I thought the wide shot of the entire football field showing Owen and Maddie on either sides of the 50-yard line. Is that the 50-yard line? I don't know. The middle. The fucking middle.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
And him following her, you can tell reluctantly, and then just that like run, that like just insane panicked run that Owen does. It's just like it's almost falling down because he's so like panicked to get away, like needs to get away immediately from the only person left alive that sees him for who he is, sees her for who she is, you know, sees that Owen is Isabel.
Owen's hand through it and says, I know it's scary, but that's part of it. But like, I'm here with you and I'm doing it with you and you don't have to do it alone.
It's so scary when you can't picture what your life will be like when you make that jump. And so I get the fear, but literally as a show of it, but whatever.
The monsters that we were talking about earlier, it's not real if I don't think about it. The Drain Lords. I
The
think.
Drain Lords. Yeah, the Drain Lords. Also, just want a little point I want to make. That ice cream cone guy is fucking terrifying. It's absolutely that
Not when
CGI was so
it's
scary.
streaming.
Not when it's streaming, but the OG one, that and the
Mhm.
fucking moon face that they did was so scary.
On Mr.
Also,
Melancholy.
Yeah.
they shot this on 35 millimeter, which is gorgeous. Obviously, the CGI stuff is CGI, but that's like part of the reason why the colors are so rich and this is so beautiful. And then also apparently all the like VHS stuff, like they like would record it over and over again on different types of VHS.
Yeah, they like transferred it to Betamax and VHS and
yeah, and ones that were expired and different things like that. And like Jane like cut together a whole bunch of different ones just if there's like a certain moment where there's a certain cool color that they wanted to show off. So I just love
it's just like when I Huji my pictures for Instagram and I run it through Huji 35 different times and so I can pick out one that's best.
Exactly. It's the
I'm
exact
gonna-
same thing.
It's exactly like
anything.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not gonna
exactly when
say-
Chelsea Huji's
I'm
her
not gonna
photo.
Me
say
and Jane
anything 'cause it's
Schoenbrun
your
are so
birthday.
twins.
I'm not gonna say anything because it's your birthday and I don't want to hurt your feelings.
I know what you could possibly say that's objectively real.
I think that one of the lines that gut punched me the most though was like when Owen was like, and then I never saw her again.
Mhm.
Like the
Yeah.
fact that he always thought she would come back and she never came back because like again, she also has to live her life. She can't stay in the midnight zone or whatever
Midnight Realm.
for the midnight realm forever just to be there with him. She can't
Yeah.
give up her life for Owen.
The quotes on that are so impactful because she says to him before he has the runaway, she says, the longer you wait, the closer you get to suffocating, which obviously we see in Act 3. But after he runs away, he says, after that night on the football field, I locked myself inside. And what the character thinks he's saying maybe is like, I literally locked myself in my house so that she couldn't come get me, but it's so like confronted with the reality of who I am and what I would have to do. I locked myself inside. After that night on the football field, I locked myself inside. I kept waiting for her to show back up to force me underground, but she never did. I never saw her again. And then like a moment later, it's what if she was right? What if she had been telling the truth? What if I really was someone else, someone beautiful and powerful, someone buried alive and suffocating to death very far away on the other side of a television screen? But I know that's not true. That's just fantasy, kid stuff. But that's when you get the moment of the sidewalk chalk that says there is still time, which I really think is the takeaway for this film.
Totally.
And I think if you had gotten like one more second of that at the very end of the movie, that would have given it a hopeful tone for the finish. And I think that is true. There is still time. It is never too late to embrace who you are and start living the life that you want. As long as you're still alive, you can still do it no matter how hard it is.
Yeah.
But I think that is just like a really beautiful message, even if it's not 100%. At the end, even if it comes in that moment and then there's the whole third act that comes afterwards. Just the idea that like, okay, you didn't want to do it right now. I'm not going to force you to do it right now. I can't come back and like keep trying, but there is still time. This was not the only chance. This was not the only moment. This was just a moment.
100%. Yeah, it's just there's still that hope and you see that, and that's I think part of the reason why the ending really like gut punches you the way that it does, because you see that written down on the ground, you think, oh, there's gonna be something good that happens at the end. Like there has to be something good that happens at the end. But I think for me, it didn't, like, obviously it bothered me that it ended the way that it did because it's very upsetting and it's very emotional. But I did like that it makes you walk away feeling awful because it really makes you think,
Live in
no
that.
matter who you are, like think about like what your fears might be holding you back from,
What is on
and
top of you, keeping you down, keeping you
mhm.
small when you can't embrace or even explore being introspective about yourself.
It's like, look what just happened to Owen. Did that terrify you? Good. You don't want that to be what happens in your life. It's like a shock to your system to take the reins and take agency if you can in your life. But it really is shocking because you really think that it's gonna happen, that Owen is finally having what they call the what is it, the egg break or the egg break moment,
Egg cracking, yeah.
egg crack moment, because Owen has that moment.
He tries to go in the TV, he sure does.
Well, the moment when he screams too, when he just finally can't take what is happening anymore. I just think that whole sequence is so interestingly done. Like,
but the moment earlier on too, when he does try and like go in the TV and his dad literally physically pulls him out and then like hoses him down in the shower, I think that's also like that's so scary and powerful. And I just don't want to skip it before we get to the full end.
Oh yeah, totally. That part was so horrific.
The way his dad literally pulls him out and is like, no, obviously he's maybe not going about it the right way. You gotta set the TV on fire. You can't just burst through. I don't know. But
yeah, that is just visually really incredible too. But then having like, so that was like society pulling him back and being like, no, be the boy that you're supposed to be or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the way he talks about it is so exactly reflective of what Maddie is saying. He says, years pass like seconds. I just try not to think too hard about it. It was time for me to become a man. It was time for me to become a man, especially, is like he's talking about a real adult, but it's like I have to accept that I'm a man and become a man. Like that's so that line. It's time for me to become a man, a real adult, a productive member of society. And that's exactly what I did. I even got a family of my own. I love them more than anything. That's so like, okay, well, we never see them. So they either are not real or they are not real to this character or they don't feel like his real life. It's so interesting too. The one moment of product placement that we really get is like the new TV being delivered. Yeah, and it's an LG TV and it's the logo is so prominent that you're just like, did they get paid a bunch of money for this? And that's why they did one very obvious moment of product placement, unless Fruitopia is still out here paying them money too. I don't know. But it is also like LG is life's good. And so it's so like life's great because it's at that same moment where he's saying like I've got a family now and everything's good, and it's got like the little face, which is does feel a little Mr. Melancholy adjacent in this context. I don't know, I thought it was so interesting that the one very blatant product placement also felt like kind of thematic.
Totally. No, I agree with you. It's really interesting that we never see the family. It's just like it's all so forced. It's just like I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. It's fine.
Or at least I'm saying I'm doing them.
He's just going through the motions.
At least I'm telling 100%. myself I'm doing them. And I even tried to rewatch Pink Opaque, and it wasn't scary anymore. They said, let's all have a soup party. Yay, soup party! Which I did love. I was like, yay, soup party. Absolutely. That's so real.
That was my kind of party.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about now that it's September, baby.
Wasn't nearly as slay as that scary ice cream. So
ice cream is out, soup is in, girl.
So funny. What a great resolution.
But the Fun Center has all these little things in it. It's got the like Mr. Melancholy video game, and it's got like the Marco Polo video game, and you see the kid in the money catcher, and on the top the LED sign says "You are dying."
Did y'all also notice that we see a Fun Center like grand opening billboard when
outside the grocery store
bar wherever, when they were like walking to the bar or something to like talk about it, and then fast forward years later and he's now working at the fun center.
Well, you also get like
Yeah,
a
the fact
very
that it's
short
like,
glimpse of it before he's working at the movie theater when he's like standing with the half inflated hovering balloon.
yeah, there's so much nuance. I love though at this ending point, he's in this place that's like all about fun and joy and whatever, and then it's just all becoming so plain that he's been so wrong for so long or been such denial for so long. Like, I love that this movie is like, no, it's real. The Pink Opaque is real. Like, in the end, I think it's very overt. Like, maybe people say it's up for interpretation, but like the fact that Connor O'Malley's the same fucking age, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. The fact that everybody just shorts out and stops, you know, he could be having like a vision or whatever. But I love that. I love it when it's up for interpretation. It could be real, could be not real, but I love that it was like, no, it was real, and it's just right there in his face, and he has to come to terms with it in some way.
Well, yeah,
Or at
because I
least
mean, he has the scream in the moment where everyone is frozen, which is so good. The scream is so jarring, but the way that
Mhm.
it's like not just the scream, it's also like he explicitly verbalizes it. He's like, "You need to help me. I'm dying right now." And then he's like, "Sorry, ignore me." But then it comes out again,
he
and I think
screams
he
out,
says, "Mommy."
"Mommy."
Yeah,
He does
Yeah.
say
mommy.
mommy. I turned on the
Mhm.
subtitles. Oh
And then he's
God,
like,
that
"I'm
was so
fine
sad.
in a minute." And then he goes to the bathroom, and from what it seems, he spits up the Luna juice in the
He
sink.
does.
Like we see the
And
blue
dirt.
in there, and then he like cuts himself open, and he's got the TV static inside of him. And there's like one moment where you see an almost smile from Owen in this movie, and it's when we get the glimpses of Owen in the dress, which is the same
Yeah.
as Isabel's dress that we see in that
Mhm.
moment. It's like not even the first shot, it's like Maddie is smiling, and it's like Owen might be on the verge of smiling, and then we get the second glimpse, it's like it's almost there. And then we get the most that we ever see is in this moment where he cuts himself open finally to explore and bare his insides, even if it's just for a second, this moment of relief, as
Or
like
acceptance.
he can just like breathe for a second.
Yeah, I
And then he's
think
like, let me sew this back up.
it feels like it's acceptance, but then it's not, you know. He bundles it back up, he puts the work vest back on.
Mhm.
And
then sorry
apparently
about
there
that.
was
Sorry about before. Just a new
Oh my God.
medication that I'm on. And I'm sorry. Sorry about before. Sorry about that before. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
And then the
Yeah,
movie's over. And that part made me want to kill myself.
100% wanted to run into traffic. It was just your
I
jaws
can't
on
believe
the
Chelsea
floor.
made us do this.
Your
I
Chelsea
wanted you
likes
to feel
to
that way.
Chelsea
I
wants us
said you
to
should
be
feel
Chelsea
exactly
wants us
like
to
that.
suffer. Chelsea wants us to cause
She does. She
Chelsea
does.
wants to cause us specifically
That's
harm.
actually a through line for next week also. So
Well, the thing I thought was really interesting is they did have shot an alternative ending that was a little bit more hopeful. Yeah.
Okay.
Where like it showed him sorry. Like there's laser tag. Just so you know.
Oh, well, there's laser tag.
There's
Yeah,
laser
it's a
tag.
good
That
ending.
changes
Yeah,
everything.
so it's hopeful because there's laser tag. No, but apparently there's laser tag, and like that was gonna be a part of it, and he was gonna be like running through the laser tag thing, like running
With
towards his
childish joy.
I don't know quite that, but at least
Sure.
like showing some spirit in some regard. So it feels like
Some
there's
movement.
forward momentum to whatever Owen's future holds. But Jane said that they didn't think that Owen earned that yet. This is just the very first moment of reckoning finally and really looking at it. Just the very first moment of really looking at it. This isn't this isn't Owen being like, I'm trans, like this is it, blah blah blah. This
Yeah.
isn't coming out. This is like moment. This is really moment one because Owen has smashed down any progress that they might have made, he might have made, she might have made earlier on in the movie. Those dress moments have been completely repressed, all of that. So this is just Owen looking at himself in the mirror for the first time in a very, very long time. And so
1 second of being willing to examine your insides and then going, that's enough. And now that I have gotten a breath, it'll sustain me for another 15 years of burying my head in the sand.
well, I don't even know if it necessarily means that. You can read it however you want to. I hope that in the trilogy, the way that they categorize this in all the articles about this movie, they're like potential sequel. I don't know if that's not what Jane is like looking for when
From
they're
what you said,
talking
yeah, it doesn't
about
sound like it.
a sequel in this trilogy. If you watch We're All Going to the World's Fair, there's nothing. No, it's not
Yeah.
the same characters. It's not that at all. It's thematic only, So I don't think we're going back to the Pink Opaque, for whatever this third movie in the trilogy is. Obviously, I'd love that because I fucking love the Pink Opaque and would love to just watch the show, because it seems cool and snail mail is super hot. So is the lovely woman who plays Isabel. So I would
Isabel.
love to see that. But that is not what we're going to get with this. I think it'll just be exploring the themes of transition and hopefully trans joy at the end of it. But yeah, I think that I liked that it was so bleak because it really makes you take a hard look at your own life, and it makes you feel like shit, and it's good to feel things. But I wish
It
for
is good
Owen
to
that
feel
it would have
things.
ended differently. But yeah, this one really, like, I hadn't felt that much in a movie theater in a really long time. And like Chelsea and I said, we were edge of our seat the whole time, just like glued, locked in. And I felt the same way watching it at home.
Yeah, I mean, when you texted me earlier saying, I don't remember if it was out or them, but you said you read an article from a queer site that didn't
Them.
like the ending. I
It was from
can
them.
completely understand and sympathize why queer people and trans people specifically would not feel good about the ending of this movie,
Yeah.
and would not want to be sitting with that and the hopelessness of that, just because, especially if it's a journey that you've been through yourself, you don't want to
Yeah.
feel stuck in an earlier stage of it or process of it and have to like deal with those emotions that you've already processed and reconciled within yourself. And I do think, like I said, I think if we just had like one more flash of there's still time, it would have transformed the tone of the ending.
Totally.
But I think even without it in that moment, that message is in the film. There's still time. And I think you have to come to it on your own timeline. You know what I mean? Nobody can make you, nobody can force you. It has to come from inside. Sometimes you're just not ready. Sometimes you're scared. It's really hard. It's really hard to not be yourself, or not feel like you can be yourself, or not feel like you can even ask, who am I? But that's a journey that you have to go on individually, and
Yeah.
those are questions for you. Those aren't questions anybody else can answer.
Totally. 100%. Oh, well, are we ready for our
segmentos?
No, we're not ready for our segmentos, because I just have at least one trivia fact that I think is interesting. But there's the line in the movie where Maddie says, Amanda is a secret agent sent to ruin my life. And just an interesting thing that the movie does is that the actress who plays Amanda, Emma Portner, also plays Mr. Melancholy and Marco, one of Mr. Melancholy's henchmen, in the Pink Opaque. And so it's like she is literally the villain that is like haunting and attacking them and like keeping them down. And so I think that
cool.
is a really interesting
I like that.
little tidbit.
I like that a lot.
But that'll also be my transition to segments. I am ready now. But how could this movie be gayer? Amanda and Maddie, the reason she freaked out so hard is because she's having her own experience, Amanda, I think, too, potentially.
Oh,
so
100%.
Because they're on the couch playing
that...
MASH, being like, okay, who do you want for a husband? And she's like, oh, do I have to have one?
Yeah, no, I think that is definitely in the text. That I agree with you. It's pretty fucking gay already, luckily. How fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's got so many queer icons in it.
Maddie is having a gender journey as well as embracing her lesbian identity potentially. I think obviously it's very clear what's going on with Owen. Tara, Amber Benson, queer icon from Buffy. That's gay, just her presence.
So gay. Love her. I thought it was interesting also, too that
sorry, go ahead.
Because they have like Tara in this, unfortunately Buffy is one of those shows that did the kill your gays trope.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for Buffy is very sad. So it's cool to like have her resurrected, and then also like, I don't know, all of the burial themes throughout this. I feel like they're like pointing a finger at that moment in Buffy history.
It's also a Buffy reference that the Pink Opaque makes it to season 5 and then gets canceled. That's not the reference, but that in the season 6 episode 1 of the Pink Opaque, they're climbing out of their graves and being resurrected, which is a narrative arc in season 6 of Buffy as well, starting in episode 1. So that was another crossover moment. But I think further gay thoughts, Tara and Isabel in the Pink Opaque, they are in love.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, Owen and Maddie, I think there is something very intimate at the very least about their interactions that can almost, it's like teetering on the edge of romance in some scenes.
Yeah.
And like she makes it clear to him on the bleachers, I'm not interested in boys, I'm interested in girls. But as we see throughout the rest of the movie,
Owen is a girl.
Owen isn't. Yeah, exactly. So like I think there is this like very sweet, innocent, even if it's more sort of like courtly love or whatever, where it's like never to be acted upon, it's just to like experience the emotion and the devotion to somebody. I think there's something there for them.
100%. And I'm not convinced that they're not going to still have that, because time is wiggly woggly. And so the next scene is Owen figuring it out, and it's all going to be okay. And she's going to wake up at the bottom of the grave and dig her way out, and then they'll kiss, and it'll be so beautiful. They'll hold each other's hearts in their hands. Oh my God, how wonderful.
Yeah, I found my heart, and I found yours too, Isabel.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Isabel, I found yours too.
The intimacy of the tattoo scene, not actual tattoo, but the ghosty on the back of the neck was a very intimate scene.
And like I just pulling the shoulder out.
I was home alone, so I tried to. I don't know what it looks like, so I'm really sorry. That's not going to look like a ghost. What does it look like?
Kind of looks like a shark.
It's cute. It looks like a Pac-Man ghost.
It kind of looks like a shark.
I tried to do eyes. I have literally no idea what it looks like.
It has the ghosts have the little glasses, which I love.
Yeah, I love the glasses. I tried to give it eyes. I was like, you need to have a beautiful lesbian do this to you. That's the only way that it can be done. You can't do it yourself. And that's, a theme of the film.
Yeah.
You don't
I thought about doing that too, but then my pink eyeliner was running
community.
out. I only had enough for my eyes.
It's okay. Any other gay thoughts you'd like to share?
So many more gay thoughts.
Where would Matthew Lillard fit into I Saw the TV Glow? He's at the club being like, damn, I love Phoebe Bridgers. And who knew her band she used to be in is so incredible. I'm a new fan.
Yeah, you see the goth performer who comes on after them. You
Oh.
don't see the goth performer's band. I think Matthew Lillard is probably in it though.
100%.
that
I
was
think
bad.
Matthew
Goth
Lillard was
performer?
probably on
Who
set while they were
was
filming.
that? That person? Oh, goth
That song was
performer.
also so thematic because it was like, I'm chained to you, tell me what to do, which is so like Owen being like, Maddie's gonna come back. She's gonna force me. Like, I can only do it if Maddie comes back and forces me. I can't. Owen is so like not ready. Owen is like, tell me what to do. But then even when she does, it's like, okay, well that's scary, so I gotta run away. But that's
Apparently, it's King Woman. That's who that was. I'm double checking though.
never heard of this.
I'm going to look at the original thing. Yeah. Sloppy Joes. Wait, no. Sloppy.
Oh, King Woman is the name of a band, not a person.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the band. Yeah. King Woman, the song was Psychic Wound. Very exciting. Very exciting. I'm excited. I'm feeling a lot of feelings over the soundtrack. Sloppy Jane, not Sloppy Joe. The article that I read earlier was wrong.
I think
The
you
song,
said Sloppy Jane.
I did? Oh, okay. Maybe just my brain was wrong when I remembered it
I don't
wrong.
remember
That's
hearing
what
Sloppy
happened.
Joe, but maybe you're hungry.
I really thought I said Sloppy Joe, so whatever. But yeah, I like that for Matthew. Are we ready for Dumb Bitch? Dumb Bitch is hard. Let's give it to Frank.
Let's give it to, yeah, I was gonna say, let's give it to Fred Durst.
Or
let's give it to Fred Durst. It's Fred Durst.
Maddie's
There
dad,
aren't-
who we never see on screen.
Stepdad, yeah, that monster. Yeah, I mean,
Can I give
think
out
it's
a
him.
bad bitch award?
Yeah, of course.
I would like to give out a bad bitch award to Owen's mom because she drives my dream car.
I think she's a
She's a
sweetie
bad
pie
bitch.
too. And
She
she like
is.
clocks it that as soon as Owen was introduced to the Pink Opaque, she's like, you haven't been yourself in a long time. Like, it's like you're not here. And it's because that's when he's like starting to recognize that he has this feeling of like not identifying with who he is, but he's like, can I explore this? Can I not explore that? I don't know. He's just like, he's caught up in stasis. But she, unlike his dad, she sees that in him and she like reaches towards him, and you know, she ultimately is giving into his dad on a lot of things, including not being able to stay up late till 11 o'clock in the ninth grade to watch one TV show one time. But I don't know, I think she is trying, and this was, you know, 20 years ago. So again, the era being what it was, she didn't have the resources to know what she was dealing with or how to deal with it.
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let's
feel
see next out of 5.
Okay. I was gonna say, I know that I tend to be like, this is a movie for girls, this is a movie for boys, blah blah blah, whatever. But when I say that, I never mean it as an exclusionary statement. And in Frank Fred Durst dumb bitch capacity, him being like, isn't that a TV show for girls? First of all, so what? So what if it is? I just think like, when I say a movie is for girls, I just mean that I feel like I'm the target audience. And it doesn't mean that boys can't watch it or that anybody else can't watch it. You can watch whatever the fuck you want to, and you can be whoever the fuck you want to be.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah to that.
Okay, knives out of 5.
9 out of 5.
This movie on IMDb has a 5.9 out of 10, which I was a little surprised to see. And I was wondering if that was going to be indicative of the general response. But then I was pleasantly surprised when I went over to Rotten Tomatoes to see that this movie has 84% fresh from critics and 72% fresh from audiences. So the IMDb crowd was perhaps just not the target audience. I wouldn't be surprised if there had been some specific downvoting of this movie because of the themes that it is dealing with. Obviously it's not part of a franchise getting specific hate the way that like Star Wars and Ghostbusters installments got when they quote went woke or whatever, but I can still see there being some potential backlash for this film. That said, it really made the rounds on the film festival circuit, and it got a lot of nominations for directing and best feature and stuff like that. It didn't win too many of them, but it seemed to be a well-recognized film and a well-recognized project, which was cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to go in first because I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm giving this 5 out of 5 knives. I just thought it was really spectacular film. I feel lucky to have been able to see it. I think that Jane Schoenbrun has a really cool directorial style and something really important to say. And I really have liked everything that they've come out with so far. It took me a second with We're All Going to the World's Fair, but this one, it was instantaneous. And yeah, it was just really beautiful, and it was really moving, and it's gonna stay with me. So 5 out of 5 knives.
I'll give this movie a 4 out of 5 knives, and it would probably be higher, but I have been in a mood today, and
and it's
movie,
depressing.
I get,
depressing.
girl, I get that.
And like this movie made me want to kill myself, and now I'm mad at the
screaming
movie.
and like you're dying. Yeah.
And now I'm like mad at the movie, so I'm like, you know what? This movie is still incredible, but I'm mad at it.
It's gonna fuck you.
Yeah, kind of a little bit. Like this movie will make you mad. Don't watch it if you're already,
and many of those things will be bad,
right? Like, and if you're already annoyed, like if you're already in like a annoyed mood, do not watch this, because then you're just gonna be mad.
Yeah, I think that's very fair and understandable.
It's not uplifting in any regard, I would
not
say.
at all. It's gonna make your mood worse. But
it does have
beautiful.
Again, a hopeful message, but it's also about being crushed. So
and
you know,
you have to witness this vaguely hopeful message at what cost to your
a beautiful hopeful message that there is still time. However, to get to the other side of that, you will have to literally dig yourself out of a grave, and you're gonna have to piss and shit yourself.
And piss yourself.
So yeah, I mean, I loved this movie when I saw it in theaters. I thought about it for a long time afterwards. I think the message of it is so interesting. It's such an interesting perspective to take. I love that Tumblr post. Again, it's going to be linked in our references, but I just think it's visually stunning. There are so many beautiful scenes in it. It is like so near and dear to my heart, and it's like 90s references in a lot of ways, and the way that it's like calling, even though you're saying nostalgia is poison, the way it's like calling back to those, I really appreciated. I had a friendship in middle school and high school where it was like one person didn't have access to this TV show, so my best friend came over to my house every single week so we could watch the new Degrassi The Next Generation episode, you know what I mean? So like that alone really speaks to me. The bleachers scene, I like TV shows. I love that so much. I just think, despite how tragic it is, and despite how crushing the ending is, I think it is really a beautiful movie, with a lot to say, and I'm willing to cling on to that kernel of hope, no matter how much despair it's buried beneath. But I'm going to give it 5 knives out of 5s. Slay. And if you thought Chelsea birthday week was over, guess what? I have news for you. It's not. It continues. Chelsea 2 weeks, because we had some scheduling conflicts, so I decided, they didn't force me. I decided that our next episode, we're recording on my birthday, and so I'm in charge, and I'm still in charge, and I still get to boss everybody around. And we talked about this recently on our 200th episode, and the timing is just so perfect between my birthday and the birthday of the character in the movie, which comes right around when this episode will come out. And it all takes place in one day. And then guess what? Double feature. The sequel all takes place the next day. So I'm very excited to say we're finally ready to revisit Happy Death Day, which we did for our practice episode before this podcast even began, and which we have been not prepared to touch again since. But we're doing it, and we're doing it as a double feature with its sequel, Happy Death Day to You, which is, in my opinion, a flawless sequel. So I'm very psyched.
I'm excited too. I think there's been enough time. I've completely forgotten what was said on that episode because it's been 4 years. So perfect timing.
I don't know if it's been enough time, but we're sure gonna find out.
With the sequel, we're gonna keep it fresh. We've got more material to work with.
It'll be fine. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful.
I think we've got our footing underneath us enough at this point. I hope.
I think so. I think we've had enough practice. And I'm excited to celebrate your birthday all over again, baby. It's going to be incredible.
Yay, Chelsea, 2 weeks.
So what should our poll question be for I Saw the TV Glow?
Do you want to die?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I think yeah.
Would you like us, Spooky Tuesday, to bury you alive?
No, they have to climb out themselves.
Which one of us would you want to bury you?
Yeah, who's packing the dirt?
To pack the dirt.
Who's packing
I've been working out, just saying. I'm looking for freelance work, and I've been working out lately, so I think I do a really good job. Hire me to bury you alive. That's my pitch.
And she'll accept only $50.
Yeah, for only $50.
For a Spooky Tuesday listener, I'll give you a good deal.
For a 5-star review, I'll bury you alive.
Perfect. For a 5-star review, you can write in your 5-star review. Yeah, Monica's gonna bury me alive, and she told me I had to do this, and that can be the review right there. And it's perfect, and it's provocative, and it'll get people going. They'll be scared of us, and that's what we're looking for.
People will go, what's going on? I need to listen to this podcast to find out, I guess.
Exactly, 100%. And a reminder that we have merch dropping today. It's so sexy. Ryan gave us like really big tits.
Very sexy. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, Ryan gave us huge tits in this artwork, which isn't accurate for all of us.
And you can see that in the art.
Our yabs are yaboing. I'm just saying.
Here's some things that were on the mood board. Elvira, the Hex Girls. That's actually
all you need to hear.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. I had those 2 things planned. That's it. But it's such a great artwork. We love it so much. We love Ryan. So check it out. And yes, go to the link in the show notes or on our website. And
it's my birthday. We did merch as a present. Don't you also want to receive present in the mail after you order merch?
You're like, oh, Chelsea's getting all the attention. Like it's your birthday. I want a present.
I'm sharing my birthday with you because I'm so generous. We should all get presents.
Oh my God, she's so generous. I love that about her. And while you're at it, follow us on social media. We're at Spooky_Tuesday on pretty much everything except for Facebook and Tumblr, where we're at Spooky Tuesday Pod. Speaking of at Spooky Tuesday Pod, put .com after that. That's our website, where you will find a link to our merchandise, as I just mentioned. And also, why not check us out on YouTube? I am dressed as Maddie in that moment where she watches the Pink Opaque and bursts into tears. That's me. And guess what? Chelsea is the Pink Opaque herself. Just wonderful. Whoa. And guess what? Sydney is herself. And she looks so beautiful. She looks so beautiful. She's got a cool hat. So lots of beautiful things to see on YouTube. And we are getting a lot of new subscribers there. So if you're one of the new ones, hello, thank you. And why not? At the end of the day, let me say thank you. I forgot what I was talking about. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. And happy birthday, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Chelsea.
Oh, thanks. My birthday again next week.
We'll see you again next week for more Chelsea. See you next Tuesday.
Bye, Spookies.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson.
Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Great18. That's GR818_. And our podcast art is by Ryan Brom, who you can follow on Instagram at Ryan Brom Art. That's RyanBrommArt. Learn more about Spooky Tuesday at spookytuesdaypod.com and subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/spooky_Tuesday.